Wednesday the 19th of February, and welcome councillors, the staff, media, and all those who are listening in from home. We'll call for apologies, but everyone appears to be here, so there is none. Extraordinary business, I know of none. No. Declarations of interest on today's agenda? No. Well, confirmation of the minutes, which is on page 3, and we'll discuss whether they are correct or not. Page 4. Page 5. Mover and a seconder. It's true and accurate record. Councillor Cameron, Councillor Todd. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. Thank you. Receipt of the minutes. Oh, Councillor Hooper.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, I was a bit late getting in for a question. I just the amendment became the substantive motion and was passed on a show of hands, 6 for and 4 against. Is that the right wording, or is it just?
Refer to the committee secretary.
I'm not sure. What wording would you have expected to see?
I was just when it says it was passed on a show of hands, but it was 6 4 and 4. Oh no, cancel that. Sorry.
Okay.
Well, good. Thank you. Item number 5, page 6, the Methven Community Board minutes. Move in a second that we receive these. Councillor McMillan, and seconded by Tony Todd. Councillor Todd. All those in favour, please say aye. Yes, carried. Nothing out of there I need to discuss. Councillor Cameron.
Thank you. I'd just like to discuss the lighting role. You know, we've given some money in the long-term plan and things for the lighting project as well. What's the ETA on that? Do we know? I'll turn my light.
Councillor McMillan.
Just an update on that. So the community board allocated some money for the concept plan for the lighting, and there is a meeting this evening in Methven with the people that are going to do the concept plan, and there's also, I think they're staying the night, and there's another meeting tomorrow. So they have to see the town when it's dark. So at this stage, no ETA, but there are plans in place with that concept plan going forward.
Happy with that, or is a comment on that, or we've come back to you? We've come back to you if we could. Lynette.
Oh, thank you.
So
what? Sorry to put your sort of finger on the whatever. 12 months or a year, within a year, till they're up in the trees or wherever they're going to be.
The plan will decide that. Yeah. Thank you, Councillor Hooper.
I don't know if it's protocol or not, but I was just wanted to know, Councillor Mackle, you recorded your vote against the motion for the Mount Hutt photographer. Can I ask why and what your thoughts were there, mate?
No, you can't.
Okay.
No. Councillor Lovett.
I was just going to that about the Mount Hutt Light Park and the grant of $3,000 for the photographer. I was just, can someone just tell me, was that for the total cost, or have the secondary schools put part in as well into that? Are we allowed to ask that one?
Tony?
Thank you. Through the chair, as I understand it, that was for the total cost of the photographer to undertake that photos and videography, and the added bonus with that is that Experience Mid-Canterbury, aka Council, will have that footage to be able to use as part of the promotion of the district going forward. So it was beneficial on a lot of grounds.
Yes, McMillan?
Just a comment on that. So the community board, or the majority, decided that it would be value for money, because we would then, or ADC through the community board would then own the photos and would be able to use them for future promotion. So it was actually quite a good deal.
Yep, it will be. Next item is number 6, Biodiversity Advisory Group, and a move and a second that we receive those minutes. Councillor Lovett, Councillor Wilson. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. Thank you. And there's any comment on them? There's one recommendation there. Councillor Cameron.
Oh well, I can move the recommendation if you like, but my question is, what is the likelihood that we'll be able to neuter or de-sex domestic cats, which I think would be a tremendous idea. What is the likelihood of that?
That would, if we pass this recommendation, then that could probably be a question of the, when the investigation happens.
Yeah, because have any other councils done that or been able to do that? Or
Yeah, you may not have read the biodiversity report, but in there it's got a list of, when it was presented by the Barry Meister and Mac McEwen, they had a list of councils that have got cat policies, and there's half a dozen or so. But in the report, perhaps we could circulate that to you if you wish. You could read it.
I'd be gracious in that.
Maybe on your Stella already. It's
Yeah.
probably on your Stella. You'd read the biodiversity report there. Councillor Lovett.
I was just going to ask, because we get these recommendations coming through from these groups now, and I'm just thinking staff time and cost to council, and is it feasible, how long out are we looking at this year, next year? Where are we sitting with this, with staff? Can I, just to give people just an idea what it could cost us and when this could come through, because we just can't go like this is going to happen tomorrow.
No, we'll, if council, through Mr Mayor, if council approves this recommendation or adopts it, we will then sit down and program it into our work program so that it sensibly fits into that program. So we don't envisage, as far as I know, needing external resource to do this. So we will be able to do it within our staff resources, but it will have to fit within all the other things that the same staff are being asked to do. So we'll just program it in and do it as we can. We note there's no specific time frame in the recommendation, and unless council imposes one, then we'll just slot it into the work program.
And they would look at, because this all comes at a cost, whether it ends up like dog registrations, people would have to pay council, because this will have to be managed by, there's no use having policies if they're not going to be managed and policed. And,
I imagine we'll canvass all that in the report. Yep.
yeah.
Yeah. Is there any questions other than the recommendation, or you want to talk about the recommendation? Because if you want to do that, we'll get a move in a second, then open it up for discussion. Oh, we did that. Oh, sorry. Got a move in a second. Do we receive the minutes? Put the motion. All in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried. Sorry, we've done that now. There's a recommendation there to council. Would someone like to move? Councillor Todd?
Thank you.
Councillor Cameron. Now it's open for discussion. Councillor Ellis.
Thank you. So the word there, council investigates. So what does that mean? Are they going to come to us with a policy for adoption, or are they just going to do some investigation and come and then seek more guidelines? I'm just not sure. It doesn't say, the group recommends that council adopts a, cat management policy. It just says investigates. So
Yep, that's exactly the recommendation, and we will do that investigation.
Further discussion on, and the recommendation is that the Biodiversity Advisory Group recommends that council investigates a formal cat management policy. So it's an investigation as to whether we will develop one. Councillor Todd.
Thank you. Yes, I speak in favour of the motion. Can I just say that obviously Gareth Morgan was well ahead of his time many years ago when he advocated something like this. So I think it's either, cats or birds that we want to look after these days.
Any further speakers for or against the motion? I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. Next item, number 7, into reports. On page 11, mid-year performance and strategy and plan report 24-25. Femke, Mark and Tony. Anything further to add, or should we go to questions?
Thank you. No, nothing further to add.
Thank you. Questions, councillors? Shall we go through them page by page, starting on page 15? Just one question on the first page, 15. There's no reporting waiting on the guidelines from DIA, not available yet. Does that matter? Can't you just report anyway?
Yeah, those reports are typically done annually through the chair. So
Okay.
once we get them done, we'll report on them.
If it's reported annually, why is it appearing here now 6 monthly?
Through the chair, it's because it's a part of our LTP performance monitoring framework, which we report on annually through the annual report. But we provide this report as an interim 6 months into the financial year, so you can see where we're at.
Right, Liz.
Thank you, through the chair. I see Methven and Mount Somers are both up in the high 80%, and I'm guessing that's because of the new membrane treatment plants. What were they before the membrane treatment plants went in? What percentage were they at? Would anyone remember?
One of the issues is that the previous reporting regime was pass or fail,
Oh, I see.
and the percentage is actually part of the new reporting regime, so it's not easy to reverse time to find out what
I
it would have
see.
been had we measured it under a different
Okay.
method of measuring. So it would have been lower,
Yeah.
of course.
And a definite improvement since the membrane treatment plants have been in. Yeah.
Councillor Cameron?
I just want to understand this new reporting regime. Can I ask a question, please, on that?
Yep.
When you look at, e.g., distribution systems rule, whatever that is,
What page is it on?
page 15,
Yep.
all those little wee A, B, C, D, F, G, H, O, J, they're presumably DIA requirements, are they? Those sort of things? So how do they get 48.75? What or say for treatment rules for Chertsey, is that what that is? Or what does that mean? That means of all those things, Chertsey meets in 48.75.
Correct.
It seems that 18, so Ashburton's 18%, is that because we haven't got the UV filters up yet? Is that the reason for that?
It's the summation of all those measures.
So chlorine rules, but we'd meet chlorine, we always have done, they've always been passed in Ashburton. On the pass and fail, we never had any, we had a few incidents of where we couldn't determine protozoa and had a few fails. There was none, but we
Mr.
didn't have a
Chair,
measuring system.
could I make a suggestion that the explanation of the rules go to the Three Waters Committee to explore in more detail, because this is really quite complicated, and it's not a linear between that and that should be that, and but there's a conversation that might be helpful for.
Well, it'd be helpful to
Yeah, I was
understand
going to
it.
suggest that it comes to the water committee, and with examples how just one of them on how it makes up those numbers.
Yeah, and then I have one more question on page 16. Can I ask that, please? It's still on water.
Page 16 now.
Yeah, we provide efficient and sustainable drinking water services, and we're 59%, and that's red. And red means target not met. Reduction in real water loss from the reticulated systems, which is the pipes and the delivery system, 59% is at 2023, and we've gone down to, so we're losing a third of our water through our pipes. Is that presumably best guess, is it, or?
No, the target is 33%.
Target is 33% loss, is it?
That's what we'd like to achieve.
And we've lost 59%.
59%. Neil?
Yeah, that's correct. So, but as noted, it is a very coarse figure, and we are working at refining that and getting more accurate information. But that is what that's suggesting, is that we are losing more than what our target is, but we have got steps in place to try and reduce that.
So if I've read this correctly, Neil, we're losing 59% of our treated reticulated water through our pipes, drinking water.
Yeah, what we refer to as unaccounted for water. So it could be losses, it could be consumption that's not being recorded. It could be someone filling up a tanker without us knowing. It's just unaccounted for water that we can't quantify with meters at this stage.
It's also, we could have a bit more discussion on this at the water committee meeting, because when I looked at it as well, 59%, which is the same as last time, we've spent a lot of money on meters and leak detection we heard about, but we're not making any gains, so it'd be helpful to understand that at the next water meeting.
And we
why
also,
we're not getting gains.
and we also said we'd found a lot of leaks in Methven, didn't we? So I would have thought at least that would be a little bit. So we must have found more leaks everywhere else, I'm guessing.
Or not. So we'll discuss it at the water meeting in more detail.
Noting this is the whole network, so by far the biggest network is Ashburton. So Methven's part of it, but not the biggest part.
So we need to deal with that.
Yep, water meeting. Correct. Page 17. So that red one there, that would cease now because we've done remedial action by putting those drying beds in.
That's correct. It'll still remain for the end of the year, and then the new year will
It'll
start
change.
fresh. Yep.
Right. Good to see some achievement there. Page 19, stormwater. Uh, 20. The stock water. We don't, do we take a stock of how many complaints we get on the stock water? Because that would indicate that we're all happy with it. We don't always hear that.
This is a reflection of the
the
measures that are in
LTP.
the LTP. So we're not trying to say anything more nor less than a report against those measures.
Yep. Page 21. Roading, transportation. Page 22.
Page 21, Mr. Mayor. It's
Richard.
good to see the extra investment in shingle on the roads is lifting the customer satisfaction on unsealed roads up from 55 to 63%.
Councillor Cameron.
If that is indeed a statistical significance, is that statistically significant in a meaningful measure? I mean, it should lift the satisfaction because we're spending extra 500,000 on it.
Thank you, through the chair. So this is coming from our annual resident survey, which is taken in 4 waves throughout the year. So this is only reflecting 2 waves worth of data. It is to be read with caution, but it does have a good response rate to this question. So
But how many people approximately, Tony?
I would have to go and have a look, sorry.
Like more than 100 or
Well,
less than 100?
our response rate to that survey, I think it's over 800.
It's 400.
Yeah,
So
400.
200 each wave.
Okay, thank you.
And
Councillor Lovett.
I'm just going to ask, and with the residents, are we equal half and half rural versus town? Because it'd be interesting to see, the feedback from the town residents on rural roads and what kind of feedback you got on from rural residents.
Sorry, we do have that information, and it'll come out in the final survey results as well.
When's the final one out? The final survey?
End of June, August, I think it comes through. Yeah.
Yeah. Page 22, waste reduction and recovery. 23, public services, democracy. 24, community grants and funding and economic development, all sitting in the greens. 25, community services, achieving well there. 26.
Can I ask another question, please,
Carolyn?
Neil? When you do these questionnaires, resident surveys, you're doing a random selection of residents within the district. And people are commenting on topics they may or may not know anything about. For example, elderly persons housing. You'd have to be lucky to get 10 people to comment that know anything about elderly persons housing. How do we get better information around that? Is there and we can survey the people that live in them, I suppose, or do we do that? Like, how do we get, I understand the road, everybody drives the roads, everybody can go to the new library or the art gallery, but I just wonder about specific smaller parts of the business.
Thank you, through the chair. So with, for example, elderly persons housing, we don't have that as a specific question within the resident survey for that very fact. It is going to be a small part of the population that are users of that service. The survey does break down like residents' general satisfaction, but we are also cross-tabbing that information with those that are users of the service. So you'll see that coming through in the recreation facility space. So we're asking the questioner as a user of the service, if you are a user of the service, how satisfied are you with that? So there's sort of two components that are running through. In the past, we have done specific surveys of our elderly housing tenants, and that's elicited some pretty granular and fine detail, but it's not at the level it needs to be coming through in this.
No,
this
so
performance.
really do we ask that question?
We don't ask that question.
Oh, okay.
No. So the one that in this performance report at the in the top of that table, it's just the occupancy rates. It's not resident satisfaction.
Oh, okay, got you.
Page 26, open spaces and parks. Green, 27.
I just have a question on page
Liz.
26, please. So you've got the proportion of playgrounds that comply with New Zealand safety standards is about, so that's a national standard, so the 59% is that set nationally?
Through the chair, that's correct. And that refers specifically to design standards. So it's not just audits on safety. It's sort of design elements, depths of fall, etc. So that gets done annually.
So that's an annual one, and then you still have the weekly
We have our
audits.
weekly health and safety audits done by the team, and they correct any hazards or any risks that I identified at the time.
And that's recorded in a different way?
Yes, that's recorded in our health and safety system and addressed immediately.
Page 27. Page 28. Which is the Art Gallery Museum and the library. All sitting in greens. Page 29. Network Centre. Page 30. Regulatory services. A couple of reds there, but only missed by one building, which is reasonably close. Not of any concern. Page 31, district planning. Again, just missed by a couple. 32, emergency management. 33, land information. And 34 is regulatory compliance. Just one question on the bottom one, which noise complaints are responded to within 2 hours. The comment is confirmation of the address was needed for 18 out of the 198 CRMs. What does that mean? Confirmation of the address.
Through the chair, yes. So sometimes when a noise complaint is made and the initial complaint it's not entirely clear where the address is. So sometimes the responding party, usually the contractor, will have to actually go back to the applicant or to the requester and actually find out and get more clarification. So when that happens, sometimes it just delays things a little bit. It's not to say that they're not investigated, it just means to actually go out and focus their attention in the right place, it takes a little longer.
Thank you. Councillor Hooper.
I was going to ask the same question, but also I was going to ask the one above it in red, the 2 of 18 CRMs received had insufficient detail when they're calling about animal control. Is there not sort of protocols or questions or tick boxes that our call centre or whoever's going through with them?
Through the chair, yes, there are. There are questions that are asked. Unfortunately, just sometimes, just due to the nature of the inquiry and the information that's provided, there are instances where there just isn't enough, or it's incorrect, or somebody's misheard the address, or just human error, basically.
Okay. Councillor Todd.
Thank you. Just on the first comment, we provide quality alcohol licensing services. I just see we're hitting the target of 17%. Will that be caught up before the end of the financial year?
Yes, it will. Yes,
Thank you.
Chair.
Appendix 2, page 35, Climate Resilience Plan Progress Report. The comment to form an internal energy management group, but what be your question, Hamish? Perhaps you're not meeting Yeah, is it not something we need to do?
Yes, we did have one, but I think it's been overtaken by the work we're doing on the climate change action plan. I might have the terminology slightly wrong, but Neil or Tony might like to comment on where that's got to.
Yeah, the Energy Management Group was set up to address, we did an energy audit, and we worked through the energy audit findings, and we engaged a consultant to undertake some work and look at sort of low-hanging fruit to save on electricity, and that work has largely been completed. And now that's sort of kind of reached the end of its life, and now it's moved over to the Climate Resilience Group.
Was that successful? Because it's not what we're hearing through budget. The energy savings.
Yes, so this goes back a few years. So we made some significant decreases in energy consumption at the Air Network Centre. We looked at LED lighting. We've looked at other measures in our wastewater treatment plants. So the savings were realised probably a couple of years ago, and were finished probably just over a year ago, a year to 2 years ago.
And so now we have a new building. This one, is it timely to do something in here?
Yes, so we are monitoring it and waiting for everything to settle in. It takes about a year for a building to settle in with its management system and look at the energy consumption, and that is being monitored, and we will look at any opportunities.
Thank you. Look forward to some improvements there, if there is any. Yeah. Page 36. 37. That's the report. There's a recommendation on page 11. Oh, if there's no more questions. Move it for that recommendation that we receive the mid-year non-financial performance report and we receive the mid-year progress report on climate resilience plan. Councillor Hooper, Councillor Brown. Thank you, ladies. Look, Mark, all those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. Thank you. Next item, number 8, submission in the Local Government Water Services Bill. Page 38. Anything further to add?
No, nothing further to add. Thank you. Happy to answer questions.
Questions, councillors? Councillor Wilson.
We had a workshop this morning on it, and we talked about the responsibilities of the directors and how they're appointed. And I see in here we've put under the relationship with Maori that we've said that the collective mix of skills of the board must include knowledge of Tatakriki Maori, Aotearoa Maori, and Titiriti. Why would we put them in when that would be classed? It's almost like saying that we think the directors should have local knowledge on water. So, it's quite specific when the bill is quite generic as to what the skills of a director is, rather than going down to one thing, because some people would express concerns that they should have local knowledge, or they should have knowledge of irrigation matters or of different things.
Richard?
Because of the relationship between the organisations that will govern water when this bill becomes law and is implemented, they're largely local government organisations and local government has a specific set of duties and obligations in regard to relationship with Maori. It felt to me to be appropriate to recognise that as part of the work of a Board of Governors managing a water entity. Because the relationship with Maori and their special relationship with water is something that the board will have to manage.
Councillor McMillan?
Thank you. I'm just reading the concluding comments, and you're saying that you support the Taitura and LGNZ submissions as well. Will the Mayor and CE speak to our submission, or will it just it doesn't say anywhere that you will speak to it, so I'm just wondering, is it worth speaking to this? Because it is quite a big deal. Just
We can include that we wish to be heard if that is council's wish.
I don't know what others think, but I just wonder it's quite a it's a bill that's going to make quite a bit of difference in how things go forward for local water.
We can present in person if you wish, yeah. Councillor Cameron?
When I read the submission, it seemed to me like that the feedback was it's a big bill, there's a lot of pages, a lot of clauses. We agree in essence with what the bill says, and we'd like these other few points put in. Have I basically given that in a synopsis? And so why, if we don't have a unique perspective on it, why would we submit in person? It's a rhetorical question in a way, but I welcome any feedback that would. Well, this is what the report said, and I think the officers agreed. So
Yeah, I think that's a fair summary. In fact, I wonder whether you haven't been reading the marginal notes I've got written down in front of me.
We're on the same wavelength, probably, Richard.
Just expanding on the clause that Councillor Wilson brought up, 11C, and the directors must include knowledge of the Te Kanga Māori and Te Aro Māori and Te Tiriti. It doesn't mean you have to speak Te Reo, does it? It just means you need to have an understanding of those three things. Is it?
Yes, and I think I think it's important about that statement is the collective mix of skills of the board. So it doesn't mean that every director has to have every skill, but we think it's sensible to specifically mention that as a skill set that's required collectively by the directors.
For some of them to have that knowledge, yeah. Or they could all, yeah. Councillor Cameron?
And I think also implicit in that is an understanding and an innate acceptance of those requirements as well. You know, you can't, I think that's implicit.
No further questions? Thank you. There's a recommendation there. Did you want to add on that we wish to be heard?
Well, it's up to council. I just brought it up because I thought it is quite a relevant bill, but if it's not going to make any difference, then you don't need to speak to it. I just thought I'd put it out there.
We test the meeting if you wish. Councillor Cameron?
I was going to move it, but do you want to hang up and test the meeting first?
No, we'll test it once you've moved it.
Well, I'd like to move the recommendation, please.
1 and 2 as is.
1 or 2 as is, yeah. Personally, I don't see the need, if we've got no unique perspective on it, for our Chief Executive and CE to have the expense of presenting in person.
I agree in second.
Second, Councillor Hooper. Open for debate.
I'm happy with that. I didn't expect them to go and present in person. I thought you could have done it by Zoom.
Yep. No speakers for or against. I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. Thank you. Next one up is item number 9. And parking in Ashburton CBD. Page 57. Welcome, Rick. Ian. Anything further to add? No.
Thank you, through the chair. Nothing further to add. Thank you.
Questions, councillors? Councillor Ellis?
Thank you. Do we get any feedback on infringement? So, like, is there an area in town that's overparked and more, and maybe we should look at the time limit on those car parks if for some particular reason there's an area that's generating a lot of, I won't say income, fines from parking?
Thank you, through the chair. If I recall, there was some quite detailed investigation into the time limits when the CPD was being refurbished, and this was discussed among staff and parking officers, and we feel we've got the right mix.
And now it's now are using it, is that same still true? I think the question was here.
Well, through the chair, I believe we've still got the right mix, yes.
Right, thank you. Councillor Lovett.
I'm just going to ask, I meant to go and have a look, was there minor alterations being done? Because we had talked about the short timeframes we had over at the old buildings. The library was only about 10 or 15 minutes, and in front of the old buildings, have they been changed, or they just stayed the same? And could you make, doing this, just make minor alterations as needed?
Again, through the chair, those were taken out of commission, but can be re-looked at as we go forward.
And the other question I had with the car park, when we take the old buildings down and re-gravel it, there's a few users in there that, business owners and that. Will we be starting to charge for that down there, or it will be just an open space? I'm thinking more of Eastfields, we charge there. Will that happen down here or not? Or would that fall in when we bring this back later on? Or
Should be an annual plan thing, I would think. Ian, or?
Thank you. I think the question here is that at the moment what we've said in the report is that the parking situation appears to be working as it is today, but that in the medium term we should go look at that in the future. I was actually just contemplating this morning, and Rick and I have been looking at various parking technologies that are coming forward, and there are certainly new things with parking recognition software and all of that kind of thing that can be put on entrances, and so there is the possibility for those sort of things to be looked at as we go forward. At the moment it doesn't seem to be a demand for it, but definitely in the future it will be something we'll be looking at carefully.
so you look at that next time you come back with all
Yes,
that information?
yes, definitely.
It's a good question, because I don't think when the long-term plan discussions at Balmoral Hall concluded, the council turned its mind as to whether that was a paid park or just a parking space. So I think we might need to bring that back to council ahead of this review in 12 months' time, perhaps, because at the moment we don't have a clear direction from council as to the nature of that parking space. So perhaps we can turn our mind to that and bring you some discussion points for a decision on the paid or unpaid nature of that park.
Yeah, that would need to be done reasonably soon, so it rolls into the annual plan under fees and charges.
Possibly, or possibly not. The fees and charges might be more around the time of the park, and so it could well be that I don't know. We'll have a look at the implications of examining that and bring you some advice.
Good. Councillor McMillan.
Thank you. Through the chair, same subject, the Balmoral car park. How long is that going to be unavailable for when the buildings are demolished? You've just got it written temporarily there. Any idea or any timeline on that?
Through you, Ms. Mayor, I am looking at Helen, but she may not have a particular view on that just this quick. But let us make a note of it, and we'll circulate an answer for you as soon as we can find that information.
Councillor Todd.
Thank you. We had a disability, total mobility meeting on Monday, and the topic of disability parks come up, and this is just, I'm just reporting really from that discussion, and from via Ashburton taxis, and they were concerned about some of the issues of getting people out of the vans in a disabled park. So there's obviously issues with the room or something that would be worth discussing. But also, we also talked to the possibility of a disabled park outside the hospice base in Havelock Street. There's a lot of vans, disabled vans go there, and it's difficult getting people out of the van and across the footpath. So whether that could be looked at in the future.
Thank you. Through the chair, we've received the letter today asking for that to be looked into, which we've discussed. We can look into that. Yeah.
Just on a process, if councillors thought that they wanted to change a limit, like let's take, like Councillor Lovett mentioned, outside the old library, I think it was park, whatever, and you wanted to extend it or shorten it, what's the process that the councillors would follow to get that underway?
Thank you. Through the chair, previously a report has been put to council recommending a certain time frame, whether it be P120 or P180s, and that's been circulated and put to the council.
So it could happen at any time. It's just a matter of asking for a certain piece of road to be, or revisited.
Yes.
And again, Mr. Chair, could I suggest that we do a piece of work on those specific parks, because there was some very short-term parking there to enable people to quickly visit, particularly the library, but also the council offices, and given those buildings are currently vacant, a short-term park outside that building may have different, well, it may not now be justified.
Correct.
Why would you have a P10 on Havelock Street outside a building that's not occupied, for example? So perhaps we can bring those specific short-term parks associated with the old library and the old admin building in a specific report to council as soon as we're able.
Yep. Yeah. Thank you. Councillor Ellis.
Thank you. Just with that report, probably be sensible to talk to the new owners and what their plans are and what they may like to see outside, because if we change it now and then 18 months time you may have to change it again, it may just communication's quite nice because they're the new owners and things are going to change outside their premises.
Any further questions? If not, there's a recommendation there that we receive the report and continue to monitor, and we'll do a further investigation and report back in August 26.
I'll move.
Councillor McMillan, Councillor Brown. Thank you, gentlemen. Open for discussion. Being none, I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. Thank you. Item number 10, Mayor's Report. And there's one recommendation there that Councillors Braham and Wilson be appointed as representatives on the Canterbury Biodiversity Strategy Revitalisation Steering Group. There's a move and a second for that. Councillor Todd, Councillor Lovett. Open for discussion. Councillor Wilson.
Just to enlighten everybody that we have a strong biodiversity strategy in Mid-Canterbury, which is recently done. So I think I can talk for Councillor Brown maybe that we've taken the view that we'll go to that with that as our backstop and our thing, and try and not allow the wider Canterbury one overrule our thing and destroy the collaborative nature we have with our biodiversity strategy, with all the farmers and people and users and forest and bird and all of the people embracing it and working with it. So we don't want the Canterbury biodiversity strategy to muck it up, is a better word I'd use.
No further speakers for Councillor. Speakers for or against. I'll put the motion on favour, please say aye. Get carried. Thank you. Any questions in the Mayor's Report? I might, Councillor Allen.
Yeah, just one. I think on the 31st of January, Mayor CE and I met with James Meager.
Yep.
I don't know if it's recorded. It doesn't seem to be recorded there, but I've got it in my diary.
Yep, we'll add that in. Thanks. And on the 17th of February, there was a meeting with Bill Thomas, but that meeting did not happen. Obviously, this was written before the 17th, which was 2 days ago. So, but it's been scheduled for another later date. Mayoral Forum was held in Christchurch. A little update on that. They're doing some work on future regulations of local government. We heard about a strategy that's being developed for aerospace and how big that could be in Canterbury. Some exciting work being done there around strategy. James Meager called in and presented to the Mayoral Forum and what he thought or he asking mayors what he thought for him his role should be and how he should present to Wellington on our behalf, or the South Island's behalf. He seems very enthusiastic and knowledgeable about the South Island, and will do great work for the South Island, I'm sure, in Wellington. Regional Land Transport Committee also met the day before, and the Regional Land Transport Plan is starting to get underway now, developing that. It's a big piece of work, so it is starting. Some information we got there was we asked for some time ago and got that South Island or Canterbury is missing out on the eroding funding compared to the rest of the country. And if I've got the numbers right, we're getting 5%, Canterbury's getting 5% of the eroding budget. Our population is 13%, and our GDP is 13% of the New Zealand. When you look at all the other councils, the GDP, their population and their funding generally aligns to those percentages. Canterbury being at 5% is way out of whack, and it dropped, was it 3 years ago? I think it was 3 or 6 years ago. It used to be 10% when our population was 13 and GDP 13. So there's good evidence there to show that we are underfunded for eroding in the South Island, so that will be progressed. And that message was also given to James Meager to work on as well, with the information, the table of the chart. Also had civil defence meeting shortly before the transport meeting. Business as usual there. There's a survey out at the moment asking people what they think of civil defence. I see it's on our website. It's going throughout Canterbury, so, or is it New Zealand? One or the other. Canterbury, so it's there for people to fill in a survey on civil defence. Councillor Cameron.
Just a question. On the 10th of February, you met with Robert Newlands and Ono Mulder from EA Networks. Can we have a wee bit of a summary on that?
Just a general catch up on the work of the shareholders committee. Asked for a couple of questions when we met with them formally in here. I had a couple of questions around what does the Commerce Commission fees cost them. So they were going to come back and present and give me the answer, and the answer was it comes from many parts and it's hard to put a real number on, but it is a big number, a biggish number. I'll have to find out what the number is, but
like $1 million or $500,000 or 5 million or 50,000.
It's hard to quantify, but it is a large number. Leave it with me and I'll come back to you. Further questions? I'll move that we receive the Mayor's report. Second, Councillor Cameron. All those in favour, please say aye. Passed. Thank you. That takes us to the end of the open part of the meeting. Got a move and a second that we move into committee.
I'll move.
Councillor Millen, Councillor Wilson.